All right. Welcome, everybody, to this week's Tax Rep Network podcast. I'm Eric Green. Joining me is actually one of our tax rep coaches, Felecia Dixson. Felecia is an enrolled agent in Missouri and works a lot with us and does a lot of work with people all over the country. I mean, you help people virtually, meaning virtually online.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Um, and what I wanted to talk about today, Felecia, is the automated organizer that Lissio has come out with. And for those people listening, Lissio is I'm very hype on the company anyway. And that was really because of the encryption for email, the text messages back
Mhm.
and forth. I don't like giving clients my cell phone number. I don't need to get text messages Saturday night that they want to talk to me. There's got to be some separation. And here I can give them a code that they can text. It'll go into the app. It is logged so that if God forbid something happened to me, other people at the firm could go in and see what the conversation was. Um, Now they have the automated organizer, and I want to talk through it because I know you've been playing with it and using it. Um, I don't actually do returns, but I got to tell you, for the folks listening, I'm really hype on this for a number of reasons. And then we'll get into all this. One, the fact that everything is logged, which we'll get to. Two, the folks have to answer certain questions. Virtual currency, foreign assets. This is our get out of malpractice free, and it also is going to force them to answer the questions. And again, if they say no and they really have it and they get caught, when special agents show up in your door, hey, this is what they told us. I wish them the best of luck, right? Um, there's the time savings. And again, I want you to walk us through kind of the detail because you can utilize this to automate not everything, but a big chunk
Mhm.
of the tax return preparation. Our members that have been using this when we surveyed them, around 65% time savings. So I'm telling you, if you could get 65% of your time in tax season back, and now I know why Dawn Brolin goes out and coaches softball in the middle of tax season. She's done it. She said, I'm done at 4:30. All right. And so there's a lot of reasons why I like this, the whole audit thing. We'll get into that. So um, let's talk about the organizer. Now, historically, for those of you listening, if you're an accountant, you'll know immediately what I'm talking about. If you're a taxpayer or a business owner, this will probably ring a bell. At the beginning of tax season, most accountants, or they should, send out what we refer to as an organizer. It's to tell us what you had this year, and it usually now will tell you what you had previously. The idea being is that it will remind you, oh yeah, you know what, I get a 1099 from or whatever, and you would fill this in and submit your document and send it back. As we know, almost 50% don't respond, don't send it back, or they send it back blank. It was very expensive to mail these things out to not get most of them back. So that we have, when we did this survey over the summer, I think 27% of the respondents have stopped sending them, which brings up an ethical issue. Under Circular 230, we're supposed to have some means of gathering information that should be designed to make sure we get everything, or at least have asked for everything. So the organizer checks that box. If you're not getting the organizer, um, I could see an aggressive auditor jumping on that. How do you know you're getting everything? Did you ask them? Do you have a paper trail of an email? I mean, they can go down that rabbit hole. So walk us through. So Liscio has now automated this. Walk us through this.
So what Liscio has done is they have gone into, I'm not going to say all the softwares, but there's several softwares out there and I can't remember them all off the top of my head. But let's just take Drake for an example. You can now print your organizers in bulk and then upload them into Liscio to your clients and send them in bulk. So you only have to do it once. print them all, send them all. It takes 10 minutes to do. I mean, it just really is that quick. The beautiful thing that is happening here is twofold. One is you're correct. It sends them that data, and I have had clients asking for years, can we do this in a PDF where I could just fill it in on the screen? Sure, if I could make that happen, I would, if I could convert the PDF and make it happen. But we all know that converting PDFs is really not as easy as it sounds. And then to turn it into a fill and print document, Lissio has done a fabulous job at taking it right out of the software, uploading it, and it has everything you need. It has all the questions. It has all the geographical information, just like your organizer, just like the one we mail that we spend thousands of dollars every year mailing out that we don't get responses on. It allows them to see their schedule C's, E's, and F's and be able to see, okay, and not even that, but just think of a Schedule E. And if you have a Schedule E and it's not a Schedule E for rental, but maybe it's a Schedule E with K1s, it'll show you which K1s you received last year. And that's important because we have lots of clients that have investments outside that come back in as K1s.
Right.
And that's extremely important. Drake, right, and we're GruntWorks. So when we get all this information, the client fills it all out and sends it back. Now we can download it in bulk, upload it to GruntWorks. GruntWorks will then take it and start completing the data entry portion of the return. They will complete everything but the C's, E's, and F's. However, if it's done properly and by the client, you should have all of that data because, like you said, it does show them what they had last year. Oh, I had W-2 from ABC Company. I had a W-2 from S&M Motors or whatever it is. And all of a sudden now they go, oh, well, I don't have that one. So they can check it off that they don't have it. And they can add in the new one that maybe they've changed jobs. Maybe they've moved and they've got a new address. They've added children. You can do all of this on the organizer that we send to them that they do in fill and print. We don't have to ask those questions. In my world, in the past, before this, I always used the organizer, I always called it my Bible. It was my directive of where were you in my roadmap? Where did you go? Where were you at? And where are you going? And I always look at last year's return or last year's organizer and I go, okay, what am I missing? And then I have to go chase the client for what I'm missing. Now I don't have to do that because Liscio is going to chase the client for me.
Right. And so for the folks listening, so Liscio, you can upload the organizers, out they go in bulk. So very quick. Clients can scan their stuff in. They can input directly into that. There is another program called GruntWorks. If you weren't following this, GruntWorks, which I also love, will take that data and it doesn't work with every tax program. It works with most.
Right.
There's a list out on the GruntWorks website. I happen to know Drake is one of them. So let's just use Drake, run with Drake as an example. By the way, I'm not pushing Drake. So no. I don't do returns.
It works with Ultra Tax and,
tax CCH. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. But it will take that data and it will fill the return in for you. So the W-2s get in, K1s, all of that stuff. Now, what it won't do, what Felecia mentioned, it won't do the Schedule C and the Schedule E and that stuff, but the client can input that directly into the organizer so they can see what they had last year. They can input this year's. And, all of that now flows through. So you're saving hours and hours of prep time. From my perspective, here's what I like about this as the defense attorney. One, and for those of you listening who are accountants, this is going to be a nightmare you've all had. The client, they get the automated under reporter. You missed a 1099. Here's the tax you owe, accuracy, penalty, and interest. Client calls you up. They're angry. They're like, I gave you that 1099. You had it. And now it becomes a he said, she said. Not anymore. I can go in and say, well, actually, you didn't have it last year, or you had it last year. and you didn't scan it up and you didn't input anything, right? Because we literally have an audit trail. The other thing I like about this, the number one cause of bad audits is bad input, is transposed numbers, like a W-2 is wrong or a 1099 or whatever. This eliminates that because the computer read. Now, again, a human being should review the return. I would never just rely on the software. But from, again, the reporting that I've gotten, if there are any mistakes, they are very small and very rare.
I
So,
used it last year with GruntWorks, and I had one mistake. I had one return that was, and it was just the very beginning of the year. But I'm telling you, between the two softwares, you can't go wrong because, like you said, with GruntWorks, they'll do the data entry. I actually paid the extra little service to have somebody from GruntWorks review the data before it comes back to me, and then I review it. I do one last little review, quick review, but it sure cuts about 70% of my time out.
yeah. And for everyone listening, I'll put in the links in the description, a link to go check out Liscio and a link to go check out GruntWorks. If you're, especially if you're a tax preparer, I highly recommend. There's some stuff that you might want to invest in. There's some stuff that I would tell you you must invest in. If you do returns, this is kind of on the must. Like if you do rep work, you need to, you need to get tax help software. You need to get transcripts. I mean, yeah, I don't see how you practice without it.
I agree.
Yeah. And so I put GruntWorks and Lissio in that bucket, which is if I were going to invest my money somewhere. Now, I already know that I'm going to get a bunch of questions or comments, and they're going to go something like this. Well, Eric, I use whatever tax prep software, and it doesn't work with them. I'm just going to throw you out an idea. We've talked about practice building and $1 million practice and all that. If you could get 65% of all of your time back during tax season, I don't know how many hours that is, but I'm betting it's several hundred at least. I'm gonna make a crazy suggestion. That would make it worthwhile changing tax software, which, by the way, I understand sucks. I've been through it myself when I was at an accounting firm 25 years ago. My understanding it hasn't gotten much better. The conversion to a different tax program sucks. It is painful. But honestly, and I'll give you an example. So you have 3 tax preparers, right? And they're working 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they're in half a day on the weekend. All right. You add up all those hours. If you could get 65% of that time back, so you're not paying them overtime, right? You might not even need 3. You might be able to go down to 1 full-time, 1 part-time. Look at those savings. I bet those savings will not only cover all of your software, but you'll actually make more money.
Oh, yeah. Return on your investment would be high. I mean, you come out on top on all of that. Shut out. Yes.
Absolutely. And the other thing is what I like about it. We did a webinar last month with Damon Rowe, joined us. Damon's at Meadows Collier. He was the director of the Office of Fraud Enforcement. And we talked about how you need to ask, do you own virtual currency? Do you own foreign assets? If they send back the organizer blank, they haven't answered it. With this organizer, they have to answer yes, no. You can't skip it. The other thing I like about the organizer, by the way, is you can modify it. You can add additional questions. You have the ability to, like, if there's something very specific to your state or their industry that you're aware of that you just want, frankly, if you just want to survey your clients, you can add that stuff into the organizer.
I do adjust mine. So what I do on mine is I even add a line item at the bottom for their name, who prepared the organizer, and I have them dated as to when it was completed, so that I know exactly, okay, if it's a husband and wife team, right? Husband and wife, was it the wife that prepared the organizer, or was it the husband that prepared? And sometimes some would say, well, why does it matter? It does matter, because now I know, okay, well, if it was the husband, then I need to go ask him if there's questions that aren't quite passing the test or he missed something, I know who to go back to and say, hey, we're missing this. It didn't make it. And as you said earlier on, the communication stays all within. So if I send the communication out and one of my preparers is preparing the return, they can see, oh, Felicia's already asked that question. Here it is. If the client answers, they can see the answers as well. And it's all contained inside Lissio.
Right. And I get asked a lot too. Another question, so I'm just going to, proactively answer. Can you use Lissio for your engagement letters? So let me just tell you, yes, but it's limited. You
Yes.
can upload your engagement letter in there, and they can, I believe, DocuSign.
Yes.
What Liscio is not is Ignition, whereas Ignition is far more robust. You can send the video clip, the pay link, all that stuff. You can make Liscio work. It is, Chris Farrell, who's the founder of Liscio, and I are friends. And I was asking him about that. He said, that's not really our bailiwick. Yes, you can upload it and do it, but they're not trying to be Ignition. All right. That's not really where they're headed with this. And so I think that between just the encryption in terms of the communication and checking that the box for that you have a WISP, you have a written program, that you've encrypted everything, right? So I'm using SmartVault for communications. I have Liscio. All of my stuff, I can check all the boxes. If there is a breach, a data breach, a malware attack, something like that, aside from all the damage you got to deal with, now the last thing I want to do is worry about an FTC investigation, because tax professionals are considered financial institutions. For those of you who are tax pros who didn't realize that, congratulations. And are subject, it's like $55,000 in fines if you don't do this. So the question, of course, well, I don't want to become a cybersecurity expert. You don't have to. These are the things that you do, that you check the box, right? You don't have a WISP, which is a written information system, a protocol, a program. There are people that provide them, right? Now you get the written plan. You can't just, shelve it somewhere and forget about it. You implement Liscio, you implement SmartVault, you do all of those things. That's about the best you can do. And if something happens, no one's going to come in and question, well, hey, I had everything encrypted. I had all of my software encrypted. I had a written plan, right? All that stuff. That's your get out of, FTC fines free card.
I think you're absolutely on point with that. And I've done my WISP, and some will say, well, I downloaded the paperwork and now I have to fill it all out. And I actually am one of those that I just pay to have mine done because I want to make sure all the boxes are checked right. So for me, it's worth the money to have somebody else do it, and it's not me signing off on it. And so, yeah, Liscio does check that box because of the encryption and the ability to keep the communication all in one place.
Right.
So that communication is not floating out there on your cell phone, as you mentioned. You're not giving out your personal cell phone device. You have the SMS feature built into Liscio. You have messaging built into Liscio. You have requests and tasks, and I don't know what else you would need to really communicate with your clients. I adopted Liscio during COVID, and I just told my clients, here it is. You will use it or not. I don't accept anything. I accept no documents via email. If they send it to me via email, I reply to them and say, please upload the Liscio, because I'm not going to do that for them. They know what the program is, and they know to go back in. And so, like last night, I got a client that says, oh, I'm uploading a notice to you that I received. They sent me the email and then uploaded it to Liscio. So it worked out. They're learning, and it's not hard. My clients, you just have to train the clients, and you have to be firm though. You have to say, this is the direction we are moving, and it's either my way or we can't work together. And that doesn't mean that you're bad. It just means that you have a directive and you're protecting your client as well as yourself.
And I got to tell you, so it's funny you bring that up. We do something kind of similar in the rep world, where I send a link to SmartVault. It has all of our folders, and we tell people, scan your stuff into the proper folder. We still get I'd rather just mail you everything. So what that means is we're going to get 300 pages, bank statements, some stuff double-sided, some stuff single-sided, property tax is always a different size than 8.5 by 11, which means my staff is going to have to sit at the copier, pulling out the staples, some double-sided, some single, rescanning all of this in, and they're organizing it. What we decided is we tell clients, that's fine, but we are not Kinkos or Staples. This isn't what we do. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Aside from our $3,500 analysis fee, we charge $300, 2 hours of my staff's billable time. And when they hear they got to pay $300 for it, some people complain, well, isn't that kind of, I said, I have to assume they're going to spend 2 hours doing this. You can do it. And what I'll add, I've actually told 2 clients this. I'm like, can I tell you something? I have about 1.5 acres of property. It's not that huge, but it's a couple hours to mow.
Mhm.
I've decided to hire a landscaper. They show up with their crew, with the rider mowers, 30 minutes, they're gone. They leaf blow, whatever, they're gone. I could do it myself. I've chosen to pay them to do it. You can do this. You can sit, scan it, and put it in like we've requested. If you want us to do it, that's fine, but it's our time and we charge for it. All right. Almost always, they agree. You know what? I'll give me a day or two. I'll scan it and do it myself. Good. I have one client who comes back every 2 years or so, very wealthy. It's one of these, it's a long story, but regardless, it's a payment plan. We're always renegotiating. She actually has said, I know I'm going to pay the fee. I'd still rather come and drop it off. All right. I mean, listen, as long as we're getting paid, I guess it's not really what we want to do. So for those of you listening who are tax professionals, where am I going with this? You send this out, say, look, we cannot afford to keep your prices where they are if we are going to have our staff spend hours sorting this. So this is designed to do this. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but just understand that when we send you our engagement letter and we get paid up front, we are going to include an additional $100 or whatever you want fee.
I do the same thing. I tell my clients all the time, especially with, self-employed, Schedule Cs, your rental properties, and they'll come in and say, they'll call and say, well, I have all my documents ready. And I'll say, okay, 2 things. Number 1, don't bring them to me. I want you to upload them. I don't need your receipts, but I want you, and they'll say, well, I need you to go through. And I'm like, I don't go through and review and tally and pull numbers together. That is your job. If you want to pay me to do this, I am more than happy to take your money. I'm not trying to say that I'm not, but if you want to save yourself a couple of $100, you could do this on your own and just send me what I need, because I don't need all that other stuff.
Well, see, and now we start talking about relationship pricing, which we're going to be doing a workshop in January with Dawn. But that's what Dawn Brolin did. Dawn Brolin would tell her clients, look, if you want to talk about our relationship pricing, we should be meeting twice a year. I should be reviewing the return is a mere afterthought. It's a report card. If we have done our planning and clients are like, oh, I like that. Well, that's good. It's $1,500 a month. We have a bookkeeper. We'll get the books done. We are going to meet at minimum twice a year, July and November, do year-end planning. I will give you ideas. If you need a financial advisor, I will bring someone in to introduce you to, blah, 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 blah. She got her best clients to all move to relationship pricing. She said once she realized she had 20 clients, and I don't know, let's call it 20 grand a year doing that. She said, because that's fun. Now I can do planning with them. They're utilizing me the way that they should be, and they're willing to pay for the service. And that's the thing. If they said, look, I want a year in planning for you to review everything with me, what is the fee? And Felecia said, look, we're going to spend a couple hours ago. It's and I got to review everything first. It's $1,000 or $995 or whatever for the year end, planning meeting. They want to pay for that. That's right. And then Felecia has everything. I would give it to my staff, just scan it into Lissio and we'll do it ourselves. but they're paying for your time. The idea that because I'm paying for a 1040, I now get a year-end meeting where you're going to review my bookkeeping. No, 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 no,
No,
no, no, no.
I did take Dawn up on that. I mean, I've sat through Dawn and listened to her talk about, and I did pick up on the relationship pricing, and I have five.
Yep.
Two of my biggest clients are on it, and and then I have some three little ones that do it, and they love it. They love the fact that they have the ability to reach out and touch me when they kind of need me.
Right.
Just those 5 and 10 minute phone calls that really aren't 5 and 10 minute phone calls, or 30 minutes, and now they've paid for it in advance, so they like that.
You know what? I'll put a link down there too to Dawn's relationship pricing. I think she's
Awesome.
um the thing is for the accountants listening to this, if you're sitting there going, well, that all sounds, let's do this way. I'm trying to remember Henry Ford's famous quote. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. Meaning, if you're sitting there going, oh, I couldn't do that, I can't ask for that, that's in your head. All right. And so I'll put something out there in January when Dawn's going to do her class. But the idea being is that this is really the way people should be working with you. If you said to me, well, I'm a tax preparer, the real benefit that you bring, for me, it's all about rep, but forensic accounting, financial planning, even insurance and that kind of financial planning, tax planning. This is really, first of all, I think this is the fun stuff. And two, that you have these skills. This is what it's useful for. It goes way beyond filling in forms to report to the government. And so if you can get your clients on the same wavelength that I have somebody with skills that I need. See, most people view this as overhead. I got to pay for the bookkeeping. They don't understand the value of that. Maya, who's been on the podcast, is my bookkeeper. She's virtual. And I'm messaging her. I have a question about this, so we'll get on a Zoom, and she's helping me plan. These are expenses we really don't need, or why don't we look at something else? Do we really need to be paying this for this software when there's? And she's helping me throughout the year. I'm paying for that. I mean, I pay her a pretty penny.
I call that
She and her team are worth every dime.
I call that business management. I mean, because the ones that I have relationship pricing are kind of like you. I don't do their bookkeeping. They have an internal bookkeeper, but yet they still come to me. The bookkeeper comes to me, and we may meet once a month, and she may say, I have questions. She'll throw things in an account, and she'll go, okay, let's talk through these so that we can get this done and out of the account. Is it good? Is it bad? Where does it belong? So that the next time they have it, they know exactly where it goes. And so it's not only just for accounting, because I don't do monthly accounting any longer, but I do the relationship pricing where I'm talking to those that have accounts that we want to make sure throughout the year that the account is cleaned up before we get to the end of the year. And again, they're still using Lissio. If they have documents they need me to review, they're still uploading that to Lissio so that I can review that with their books.
Right.
So it really does pay off.
Yeah, no, and the timing of us sitting down and doing this couldn't be better for everyone listening. Now's the time to implement this, right? I mean, we're recording this end of November. It's, first week of December. If you're listening to this, the time to do this is now, because we all know come January 15th, you're not implementing anything. All right. I mean, it's too late where tax season is beginning. The time to do this is now. This is the gift. If you do this over the holidays, that will keep giving for years.
And that being said, so you want to do Lissio now. And if you're even contemplating the concept of, oh, maybe I should switch software so that I can use GruntWorks, again, now's the time. Twofold. People say, well, I've already paid for my software this year, maybe next year. You can get a refund because the software hasn't come out yet, right? So if you've already prepaid your software hasn't hit the system yet. You've paid for something you don't have. They'll 99.9% of the time will refund that money, and you can then invest into the new software, so you're not losing anything. So, but now's the time to do that too, because you want to get the conversion package done, and you want to make sure that come January, when season hits at the end of January, you're ready to rock and roll. You got Liscio set in place for your clients to do this, the organizers. And you talk about the organizers, but also remember that Lissio also has the return delivery, which is going to be a big game changer come next year also. So again, all in one location. And I've been playing with both. I've done both. I've been using the return delivery all through since extension season in September. And it is awesome the way it works along with the organizer. It just gives me, because I'm like everybody else. I'm a sole practitioner with chief cook and bottle washer with contractors. So I do 90% of the admin work, but I save 75% of my time because I use Liscio.
Yep. And again, we're training our people. Everything is remote. So you can go to Florida in January and February and your practice just rolls right along because you don't have people showing up for their appointments, right? And all that stuff. Those days I think are pretty much if they're not gone, they should be.
I have no walk-in business at all. It's by appointment only, and I'm very picky. I only am taking clients 2 days a week, but so that it allows me the other 3 to get work done. Because I do resolution work on top of this, so you have to have time to make phone calls and that kind of stuff. But it is a beautiful day when I don't have to worry about the client to send it out and I wait for the client to send it back. So unlike you, I use Ignition to do all of my engagement letters, collect my money, all that fun stuff. And then I use Lissio for everything else. And I tell my clients it's not optional, it's mandatory. Same with the organizers coming up in January. When I send them out, there will be a recorded message that goes out with them, not in Lissio, but I'll do that with the engagement letter. But I will also send a message, a bulk message to everybody in Lissio that says, hey, look, this is new. And we are going to be utilizing the organizer. And if you don't utilize the organizer, then we are probably not going to be able to work together because my practice is evolving and I want to make sure that I'm covering my bases and I'm protecting me and my clients. So that's why we use Lissio, because of the encryption and all the documents are there. I don't have to say, hey, to my contractors, we have work to do. You need to go. They don't have to do that. They can see in Lissio what's there, what's not there with the task and the request. I don't have to chase my clients either. If I send out a request, Lissio chases them for me. If I send out the organizer, Lissio chases them for me.
Right.
I don't have to do that. That's a beautiful day in paradise because again, how much time do we spend chasing clients?
Oh yeah, too much.
And during tax season, you don't have time.
Right.
If you've got I have about a 300 return practice, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for one person, it's quite healthy, and I don't want to chase my clients. I want a work-life balance. I want to be able to get out here, like Dawn says, at 4:30 in the afternoon and go do something else or to travel during season and not have to worry about it. So yeah, it's not optional this year. You will use the organizer. Now, that being said, that because this is the first year we're going to mandate that, I've also decided that maybe I'll give back a little and say, hey, I'll give you a discount of whatever that's going to look like. It may just be $25, but clients will pick up on $25.
Oh yeah, you'd be amazed what people will do for 25.
So something small. That's a small amount and say, hey, for $25, you'll get a discounted rate of $25 just for using the organizer.
Well, here's what I would do. I would increase everybody and then tell them they can get that money back if they move to the organizer. Yeah, no pay.
That's what I plan to do. Everybody gets an increase at the beginning of the year anyway, and I'll say, hey, I'm going to increase by this, but if you use the organizer, I'll keep maybe we'll just do that. Just say, hey, instead of increasing, we'll just keep your fee the same as last year and we'll just go forward. That's a good idea too.
And so Felecia has done a video series on Lissio. Those videos are going to be coming over. We will put them on the YouTube channel. If you are not checking out the YouTube channel, you really should. There's some content I just put on the YouTube channel. I was just talking about, I literally just put a video up on how to sell IRS rep services. I'm posting one today on tax compliance. The videos that Felecia has done on Liscio, those are going to go up there. Don Brolin and I were going to do a discussion, which is not on the podcast show. It's just on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you really ought to, because you'll end up getting alerts when that stuff drops, and there's just stuff there that we don't do anywhere else. So Listen, Felicia, thank you for taking the time to do this. For everyone listening, I will put links in to Lissio, to GruntWorks, everything we talked about today, Don's relationship pricing thing. I'll put that stuff in the description. If you want to, Felicia, people want to contact you, tax pros want to, consult with you, whatever, how's the best way to reach you?
They can call my office at 573-426-4829, or they can reach out to me. I mean, I have a website, it's dixonassociates.com, and then my email address is felicia@dixonassociates.com. So I mean, there's several ways. If you just Google me, you're gonna find me. In all reality, you're gonna find me because I am 100% virtual. And so I span the entire United States. I have clients everywhere.
Yeah, no, same thing. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, that's it. I
You
am.
really, if you really want to find, that's why I find that I've been trying to get a hold of you. No, you haven't.
No, no,
You're trying to get a hold of me.
find me.
There are 6 ways to Sunday you can get a hold of me. All right, between social media, email, the websites. Yeah, yeah, yes.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Alignable. You can find me if you're really looking for me.
Right, exactly. So, listen, thank you. Thank everyone for listening, and go check out Lissio, go check out GruntWorks, and otherwise, we'll see you next week on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Eric. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.